G'day there, ladies and ledians. It's time to give a sales pitch about a new version of an old spin-off game. And so, you have seen the thumbnail. It's no surprise that we'll be talking about Pokemon Pinball. Let's jump straight into it. Pokemon Pinball is, well, pinball. It's an unpopular kind of game nowadays, but I remember when there was pinball for just about anything. Perhaps because of there being too many pinball games, the market was saturated, or maybe people just didn't care that much about pinball after a bit. In any case, it seems to have been phased out of modern gaming. But I'm here to tell you that we had possibly the best version of pinball on the handheld market. You see, with regular pinball, the goal is to aim for a high score. It's an arcade-style game, so there isn't really a grand narrative or complex dungeons or anything. You spend some money to try and get a high score before you need to be elsewhere. Meant to be a short game rather than a long game. The Pokemon Company saw this flaw and decided to battle it head-on. And so we got the Pokemon Pinball games. You heard right, we had a game on the Game Boy Color, and another one on the Game Boy Advance. I have only really played the Ruby and Sapphire one, as the previous game was distracting with the way the screen and the ball interacted. So I will be using the Ruby and Sapphire edition as my inspiration. So with Pokemon Pinball, the developers decided to make the goal of the game not only to get a high score, but also to capture Pokemon. You can still aim for a high score, but the main enjoyment from it was completing the Pokédex. You would do this by maneuvering the ball around to unlock the modes for catching, hatching, and evolving Pokemon. Using the bumpers to precisely control the ball was key in this game. After starting each mode, your job was to either hit the Pokemon if you're adding it to your collection, or moving the ball around if you're evolving them on. This was an excellent way to add to the gameplay rather than just bumping around for a high score. You have the micro goal in keeping the ball active for as long as possible, but you also have the macro goal of trying to complete the Pokédex. Not only that, but each board had its own biomes that you would need to be on, each with different Pokemon. And there was a way to trigger a mode that let you transition to a new biome without restarting the game. Combine that with bonus stages and other secrets on the board, and you have a fun and engaging game that can be played for a short or long session. Perfect for portable gaming. And what if I told you there were boss battles? Yes, truly, we have capturing and boss battles in a pinball game. The two main aspects of Pokemon translated into a game, about moving a ball on a table. Just incredible. So what can we expect from a new Pokemon pinball game? There are so many more Pokemon nowadays than we had in Gen 3. How do we go about making this game? Well, with almost 10 generations, it would be simple to have one board per region, but that to me seems unrealistic. Are we really going to say that the Kanto board with 151 Pokemon is going to be the same as the Kalos board with around 70? And with regional variants and cross-gen evolutions, I think it would be pretty complicated or awkward. Unova would probably be the best board overall, so then to split the boards pretty evenly, we would need to focus on the biomes of Pokemon. Biomes in Pokemon can be broad or specific. For example, a water biome is very broad, encompassing every water type imaginable. If we, however, have an ocean biome, it isn't all water types. Some Pokemon like Delmese would also be able to show up. I don't know how many biomes there would be, but let's say that we have 5 boards with 6 biomes each, so 30 total. Some of these biomes can be shared across the boards, allowing Pokemon to be caught on multiple boards. Think about how many Zubats are across the games for reference. So maybe there are, say, 25 unique biomes across 5 boards. That sounds pretty reasonable. Give each board 1 to 2 larger biomes and 3 small biomes and we should be good. Some Pokemon will also be found in multiple biomes, and some Pokemon will be exclusively to each board. The idea is that there are so many secrets to uncover, and finding all Pokemon will take a lot of time. To make the long grind for Pokemon interesting, each board will have its own secrets to uncover, that interact with the boards and the ball in fun ways. There will also be somewhat of a campaign similar to Ruby and Sapphire, where you do boss battles against legendary Pokemon to catch them. Add in a few rare encounters such as the Ledians and ledians from Ruby and Sapphire, a secret location on each board that has a few legendary or mythical Pokemon, and you're good to go. There should always be something to work towards, or a gameplay loop that is engaging. In this new Pokemon Pinball, you will be able to save and quit. Perfect for portable gaming on the Switch. I would say Switch 2, but the first Switch and the Switch Lite are better suited for portable gaming compared to Switch 2. Here is the most interesting part of the idea. So we already have battles, catching, hatching, and evolving. All aspects of the Pokemon formula. What if we just made it into an RPG game? I'm talking team building, elemental weaknesses, critical hits. This kind of game is already dipping its toes into the roguelite genre. That's how a mode we can go full in on that idea. How will it work? Well, the first 6 Pokemon you catch will be your team. Anyone that you catch will come to you to release someone to make room. There will be a time before the next battle that will get progressively harder. Your goal is to move the ball around to get experience with the Pokemon on your party, giving them better stats and evolutions. Once the timer ends, the battle begins, where you move the ball again to hit the Pokemon you are battling. The combined stats will determine how your ball moves around. The speed, for the speed of the ball. Defense will increase the time you have to battle them on. Attack will determine how many taps it takes to beat the opponent. Maybe tie matchups would make this overly complicated, I do agree with that, but instead could be abilities. Abilities to ignore status conditions on the enemy, such as paralysis or frozen. Abilities that give the ball movement up to prevent losing, acting as a 1-up. Abilities to spawn a copy of the ball for more chaos and engagement. We can make this an RPG pinball game. After each battle you can catch the Pokemon to add it to your team, an overall collection, or not add it to increase your money. Every now and then there will be a shop where you can purchase upgrades and items that give you an extra life, or reduce the cooldowns of abilities, increase stats, or XP growth. There are so many options to make this entertaining. Nintendo doesn't have a roguelike or roguelite game as far as I'm aware. To make this easy to get into for Nintendo fans, we will make this a roguelite mode. And so you'll have 5 boards, over 1000 Pokemon, 25 biomes in either a classic mode or a roguelike mode. Doesn't that sound interesting? It is Pinball, but I think Game Freak can charge, say, $50 USD for the Switch 1 game. There is an obstacle for this game, however. If you ever search for a pinball game on the Switch eShop or on other platforms, you would encounter this game, Senran Kagura Peach Ball. I think it might be pretty obvious as to why they don't want a Pokemon game on the same page as this. This pinball game doesn't have nudity in it, but it's definitely not aimed towards children. Most people will find the Pokemon pinball game from searching Pokemon, but since there will be a lot of entries, it might be easier to search for pinball, making this Peach Ball next to the new Pokemon Pinball. This isn't really a shovelware game that can be easily deleted either. The Senran Kagura series is relatively big and has a dedicated fanbase. You can't just delete this game, not without a potential lawsuit. And of all the reasons to delete something off the eShop, being next to Pokemon is not a good enough excuse. You could argue that its content is enough to ban it, but these games are on the eShop, maybe prevented, but not deleted. That being said, there are worse games than this that need to be removed before this one. Like it or not, Game Freak can't release a new Pokemon Pinball game while Peach Ball is on the same console. Not unless they are fine with potentially advertising more of an adult game to younger audiences. It is for this reason that I think we'll never get a pinball game. The most conceivable way I can imagine getting this new game would be to have a Switch 2 exclusive eShop channel. Unless Peach Ball is given an enhanced edition, this will be a way to get new pinball without Peach Ball. However, the portability of this game means that it'll be less appealing on the bigger Switch 2. It's a lose-lose situation, I'm afraid. Postscript addition here, I tried searching pinball and Peach Ball didn't show up. It is possible that Nintendo are trying to shadow ban it. My point still stands for the most part, but it is more likely if the shadow ban is true. But those are my thoughts about a new potential Pokemon pinball game. Let me know if I'm onto something or if I'm just dreaming. Have you played the pinball games before? Do my ideas excite you? You can tell me in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.